The Revelation. Commander Ilara Wright stood at the viewport of the United Earth Navy flagship Prometheus, watching the crystalline vessels of the Vraxian Confederacy shimmer against the backdrop of stars. Despite her youthful appearance, her dark eyes held the weight of centuries. Few knew that Ilara had witnessed humanity's greatest triumphs and darkest hours across multiple lifetimes. Impressive, aren't they? Admiral Keaton appeared beside her, nodding toward the alien armada. "I've seen more impressive things," Ilara replied, a hint of ancient memory in her voice. As the youngest admiral in Earth's fleet, at least officially, she had the respect of every officer aboard. What they didn't know was that she had commanded ships when sailing vessels still crossed Earth's oceans. Today marked humanity's formal introduction to the galactic community. After decades of cautious observation, the Vraxian Confederacy, a coalition of 17 spacefaring species, had finally extended an invitation. Earth would join the ranks of civilized worlds, gaining access to technology, knowledge, and interstellar trade. As the diplomatic party prepared to board the Vraxian flagship, Ilara reviewed her briefing. The Eternals Council, the secret organization of immortals like herself, had prepared for this moment for centuries. Their directive was clear: maintain the masquerade. No species in known space had developed immortality. To reveal their existence would potentially destabilize humanity's position before it had properly established itself. "Commander Wright, are you ready?" asked Dr. Maya Chen, the delegation's chief scientist. Maya was mortal, brilliant but unaware of the immortals who had guided human progress for millennia. As ready as one can be to meet aliens, Ilara smiled, the practiced expression of someone who had perfected hiding her true nature. The Vraxian diplomatic chamber blended organic architecture with crystalline technology. High ceilings curved into translucent spires, while representatives from various species mingled beneath. The Vraxians themselves resembled tall, slender humanoids with iridescent skin that rippled with colors reflecting their emotional states. Ambassador Zorik, the Vraxian delegation leader, approached with graceful movements. "Commander Wright, we welcome Earth to the greater community of worlds." The translator device at his throat converted his harmonic speech into English. "Ambassador, the honor is ours," Ilara replied, performing the formal greeting they had been taught. Right hand over heart, slight bow. The initial meetings proceeded smoothly. Earth's delegation presented their technological achievements, cultural highlights, and governance structures. The Vraxians seemed particularly interested in human medical advances. "Your cellular regeneration techniques are remarkably advanced for a species of your development stage," noted Vraxian scientist Tholax, his skin pulsing with blue curiosity as he examined the human medical database. "Humans have always been resilient," Dr. Chen replied. "Our history is filled with adaptation and survival." Ilara watched carefully. The Eternals had deliberately guided certain medical advances, ensuring humanity developed technologies that wouldn't reveal their existence while still advancing the species. It was a delicate balance they had maintained for thousands of years. 3 days into the diplomatic summit, disaster struck. A catastrophic power failure in the station's gravity generators sent a section of the diplomatic quarters into free fall. Ilara was accompanying Ambassador Zorik when the deck beneath them suddenly disappeared. Without hesitation, she grabbed the ambassador and pushed off a floating panel, calculating trajectories with the precision of someone who had experienced zero-gravity centuries before it was officially discovered. As debris tumbled around them, she shielded the alien with her body, taking a severe impact from a metal support beam that would have killed Zorik instantly. When emergency responders reached them, Ilara was bleeding profusely from a wound that should have been fatal. The ambassador watched in stunned silence as the laceration across her torso began visibly knitting itself together. "Impossible," whispered Tholax, who had arrived with the medical team. "Your cellular reconstruction is happening at a rate that defies biological limits." Ilara knew immediately that her secret, and by extension, the secret of all the mortals, was compromised. The regenerative abilities of Eternals were significantly enhanced compared to normal humans. It was an evolutionary adaptation that accompanied their immortality, allowing them to recover from almost any non-fatal injury. Commander Wright requires immediate medical attention, she heard Admiral Keaton say, attempting to draw attention away from what was happening. But it was too late. The Vraxians had seen enough. Within hours, Ilara found herself in isolation, ostensibly for medical observation. The diplomatic meetings continued without her, but the damage was done. Through her neural implant, she contacted the Eternals Council. "We have a situation. The Masquerade is compromised." The Council's response was immediate. "Assess containment possibilities." "Minimal," she replied mentally. "They've seen active regeneration. The Vraxian Science Division is already requesting full biological scans of all human delegates." 2 days later, Ilara was summoned to a private meeting with the Vraxian High Command, an unusual departure from diplomatic protocol. Admiral Keaton accompanied her, his expression grim. High Commander Vrel's skin rippled with patterns of deep purple and red as they entered. "Commander Wright, our scientists have been analyzing your medical readings. You understand we have questions." "I would expect nothing less," Ilara replied calmly. "Your cellular structure shows markers of extreme age despite your youthful appearance. Your regenerative capabilities exceed not only human norms, but those of any species in the Confederacy." Admiral Keaton stepped forward. "Commander Wright has unique genetic markers that—" "That is not the full truth," interrupted Vrel. "We have analyzed historical records your delegation provided, images from your archives, and we found this." A holographic display activated, showing historical photographs from Earth's past. A Civil War battlefield hospital, 1864. A group of nurses in World War I, 1918. The signing of the Antarctic Treaty, 2042. In each image, though dressed differently and sometimes partially obscured, was a face identical to Ilara's. "Perhaps you would like to explain how you appear unchanged across centuries of your world's history." Vrel's skin had darkened to a deep crimson. The room fell silent. Ilara felt the weight of countless lives pressing down on her. For millennia, the Eternals had hidden in plain sight, guiding humanity without revealing themselves. Now, standing before representatives of a galactic civilization, she realized their greatest secret would soon be exposed to the stars. "I was born in what humans called the year 1462 in Northern Europe," she said finally. "This is my 11th life." The shock rippled through the room like an electrical current. Even Admiral Keaton stared at her in disbelief. "When we die," Ilara continued, "our consciousness transfers to a new human body. We retain all memories, all skills, all knowledge. We call ourselves Eternals." "How many?" demanded Vrel, his translator barely keeping up with his rapid speech patterns. "Approximately 1 in every 100,000 humans possesses the potential. Currently, there are about 90,000 active Eternals on Earth, with memories spanning from a few decades to over 15,000 years." The revelation sent immediate shockwaves through the Vraxian command. Urgent communications transmitted outward to their homeworld and fleet. Security personnel moved closer to the humans. "This changes everything," Vrel said finally. "A species with individuals who accumulate knowledge and experience without limit, who guide their civilization with the wisdom of millennia. This is—" His skin pulsed with patterns the translators couldn't interpret. "We have never used our abilities to harm," Ilara explained. "We serve as humanity's memory, preventing the repetition of past mistakes." "Yet you concealed this fundamental truth about your species," countered Vrel. "How can we trust anything you've presented?" Before Ilara could respond, alerts blared throughout the station. On the view screens, Vraxian vessels were moving into attack positions around the human diplomatic ship. "What is the meaning of this?" demanded Admiral Keaton. "A precaution," replied Vrel. "Until we understand the full implications of what we've discovered, we cannot allow your delegation to depart. The High Council has ordered a full study of this immortality phenomenon. Ilara's implant vibrated with an emergency message from Earth. Vraxian battle groups detected approaching Sol system. Defensive protocols activated. The Eternals had always feared this moment, the discovery of their existence by an advanced alien civilization. Now it had arrived, and the consequences were unfolding rapidly. "High Commander," Ilara said carefully, "I strongly advise against any hostile action. There are aspects of humanity you still don't understand." "On the contrary, Commander," Vrel replied, his skin now a cold metallic blue. "We understand perfectly. Your kind represents a fundamental shift in evolutionary development, one that could threaten the balance of power throughout known space. The Vraxian Confederacy has maintained peace for 10,000 years by ensuring no single species gains overwhelming advantage." Armed guards entered the chamber. "Admiral Keaton and the mortal delegation members will be returned to Earth under escort," announced Vrel. "You and any other identified Eternals will remain for further examination." As the guards approached, Ilara exchanged a brief glance with Admiral Keaton. An imperceptible nod passed between them. The contingency plans the Eternals had developed over centuries were now in motion. The revelation had come, and with it, the storm, the reckoning. Dr. Marcus Reed watched from the lunar observatory as Vraxian ships positioned themselves in Earth orbit. As director of the Tycho Research Station, his position was entirely unremarkable, one of thousands of scientists working on humanity's expansion into space. What the Vraxians didn't know was that Marcus had witnessed the first human landing on the moon in person, not through historical records. He had been there, under a different name, a different face, but with the same consciousness that had lived through 17 human lifetimes. "Status report," he demanded, his voice calm despite the crisis unfolding. "Vraxian forces have established blockades at all major orbital facilities," reported his security chief. "They're demanding that all individuals on their special interest list surrender themselves for examination." The list contained names of suspected Eternals, some accurate, many not. The Vraxians had analyzed historical records, looking for inconsistencies, for humans who demonstrated knowledge or skills that seemed impossibly advanced. "And the defensive grid?" Marcus asked. "Online but hidden. They haven't detected the installations yet." For 3 centuries, the Eternals had quietly guided humanity's defense preparations, anticipating that first contact might not be peaceful. Weapons platforms disguised as research stations, asteroid bases with antimatter cannons, and quantum disruptors hidden within civilian satellites all remained invisible to standard scans. Marcus received an encrypted transmission from the Eternals Council. Protocol Lazarus activated. Coordinate with Phoenix Group. Across Earth and throughout the solar system, Immortals moved into predetermined positions. In Geneva, Dr. Immerse, born during the Tang Dynasty, activated a quantum communication network unknown to the larger human population. In Nairobi, General Thomas Okafor, veteran of wars spanning 5 centuries, prepared defense forces using strategies developed over thousands of years of human conflict. The Vraxians struck with precision. Throughout Earth's major cities, special forces using advanced stealth technology attempted to capture suspected Eternals. What they encountered was preparedness they couldn't have anticipated. In New Shanghai, Eternal Javelin, appearing as a young university professor but carrying memories from before the Qin dynasty, activated defensive systems that neutralized Vraxian energy weapons. In Rio de Janeiro, Immortal engineer Sofia Cardoso trapped assault teams in quantum stasis fields developed from technology the Eternals had been perfecting since before the discovery of electricity. Aboard the Vraxian command ship, Ilara remained in detention alongside 7 other captured Eternals. They had been separated, studied, their biological functions monitored and analyzed. Through their neural implants, however, they maintained contact. "The Vraxians are panicking," communicated Ilara. "Their attack teams are meeting resistance they didn't expect." "Our people have prepared for this possibility for centuries," replied Julian Reeves, an Eternal whose first life began in ancient Mesopotamia. "The question is whether we can resolve this without full-scale war." Their captors had underestimated the Eternals in one crucial respect. They assumed immortality was merely biological. They failed to understand that consciousness transfer had both physical and quantum components. The neural implants every Eternal carried weren't simply communication devices. They were part of an entangled quantum network that connected all Immortals across vast distances. On Earth, Marcus Reed activated the final phase of the contingency plan. Throughout the solar system, hidden defense platforms emerged from asteroids, from beneath lunar regolith, from cloud formations in Venus's atmosphere. Earth's apparently modest defensive capabilities suddenly expanded exponentially. High Commander Varel received the reports with increasing alarm. "Impossible," he muttered as the tactical display showed hundreds of weapons platforms activating simultaneously. Their technological level shouldn't allow this level of coordination or concealment. "Perhaps you underestimated what beings with thousands of years of continuous experience can accomplish," suggested his science officer. "The Eternals have guided human development with knowledge accumulating across millennia." In orbit above Mars, the human defense fleet emerged from concealment. Ships that had appeared to be simple mining vessels and cargo haulers revealed military capabilities far beyond what humanity had officially demonstrated. Admiral Helena Torres commanded the fleet, another Immortal whose naval experience stretched back to sailing ships on Earth's oceans. "Vraxian Command, this is Admiral Torres of the Earth Defense Force. Your forces have committed acts of aggression against a sovereign planet. Withdraw immediately or face consequences." The Vraxian response was immediate, energy weapons targeting the human vessels. But the battle that followed demonstrated humanity's true capabilities. Eternals commanding key vessels implemented battle strategies that combined ancient warfare principles with advanced technology. Ships moved in formations that seemed to anticipate Vraxian tactics before they deployed. Aboard the Vraxian flagship, Ilara felt the ship shudder under weapons impact. Through the quantum network, she directed key defensive strikes. The Immortals had never wanted war, but they had always prepared for it. High Commander Vrel watched in disbelief as his forces suffered unprecedented losses. "How is this possible? Their tactical coordination exceeds our most advanced AI systems." The answer came when Ilara and the other detained Eternals were brought to the command center under heavy guard. "Your fleet has been neutralized, Commander," Ilara stated calmly. "I suggest opening diplomatic channels before further lives are lost." "You've concealed not only your immortality, but entire weapons systems and fleet capabilities," accused Vrel. "This deception justifies our intervention." "We concealed nothing that wasn't our right to withhold," Ilara replied. "The Eternals have guided humanity's development and protection for thousands of years. We've seen civilizations rise and fall. We've witnessed how fear of the unknown leads to destruction." The tactical display showed Earth's full defensive capabilities now, far beyond what a newly spacefaring civilization should possess. "What you're witnessing," Ilara continued, "is not merely advanced technology, but the application of millennia of accumulated wisdom. Every strategy your forces have employed, some Eternal somewhere has seen before and developed countermeasures." "You speak as if war is your natural state," said Vrel, his skin darkening to deep indigo. "Quite the opposite. We've guided humanity away from self-destruction countless times, but we've also ensured our survival against external threats. The Eternals remember every mistake humanity has ever made, and we ensure they're never repeated." As the confrontation reached its apex, a new transmission came through from the Vraxian homeworld. The High Council itself had convened upon learning the full scope of humanity's capabilities. "This conflict must end," announced High Counselor Joran. "The Immortals of Earth represent something we have not encountered in 12,000 years of interstellar exploration." Ilara realized immediately what had changed. "You've seen Immortals before." The silence that followed confirmed her suspicion. There was once another species with your abilities, Joran finally admitted. The predecessors. They expanded across 1,000 worlds before disappearing 30,000 years ago. All that remains are ruins and warnings about beings who never forget, never die, and never stop advancing. And you feared we were like them, Ilara concluded. The pattern seemed identical, rapid technological advancement guided by hidden immortals. The predecessors began peacefully too, until their immortals decided other species were too dangerous to be allowed independence. Understanding dawned across the command center. The Vraxian aggression hadn't been merely fear of the unknown, it had been terror of a specific threat they believed they'd recognized. We are not the predecessors, Ilara said firmly. Eternals guide, but do not rule humanity. We preserve knowledge, prevent repeated mistakes, but each generation of humans makes their own choices. That is our fundamental principle. In the tense hours that followed, a new understanding began to form. The Vraxians withdrew their forces under a ceasefire agreement. Earth's defenses remained activated but non-aggressive. And across the quantum network, the Eternals convened their largest council in centuries. 1 month later, a formal treaty established new relations between Earth and the Vraxian Confederacy. Humanity would join the Galactic community, but with full acknowledgement of the Eternals' existence. Special diplomatic protocols were established for immortal representatives. Ilara stood again at the viewport of the Prometheus, this time watching the peaceful exchange of scientific delegations between human and alien vessels. Was it always going to come to this? Asked Admiral Keaton, joining her. Confrontation of some kind was inevitable, she replied. Species fear what they don't understand, and immortality is difficult to comprehend for beings whose perspective is limited to a single lifetime. And now we do what Eternals have always done. We adapt, we learn, we remember. But this time, we do it as part of a larger community. As the stars shimmered beyond the viewport, Ilara reflected on the countless lives she had lived, and the many more that might lie ahead. The revelation of humanity's immortal guardians had changed the balance of power in the galaxy. The species that aliens had expected to easily dominate had proven to be far more formidable than anyone imagined. The immortals of Earth had never sought conflict, but when it came, they stood ready, armed with the experiences of countless lifetimes and the determination that had characterized humanity since its earliest days. The galaxy would never be the same again, and perhaps, Ilara thought, that was exactly as it should be.